Meet Steve Ballmer, the fiery businessman, best known as Microsoft's former CEO, the passionate owner of the Los Angeles Clippers, and one of the richest men alive. As of May 2025, his fortune sits between $118 and $151 billion, ranking him in the top 10 wealthiest people on the planet. Stephen Anthony Ballmer was born in 1956 in Detroit, Michigan. His father was a Ford Motor Company manager who emigrated from Switzerland, while his mother was of Jewish heritage. Fun fact, through her, Steve is actually a cousin of comedian Gilda Radner. Ballmer's childhood was split between Michigan and Brussels, where he attended the International School of Brussels. A gifted student, he graduated valedictorian from Detroit Country Day School, scoring an incredible 790 on the SAT math section and later became a National Merit Scholar. He went on to Harvard University, where he studied applied mathematics and economics. At Harvard, Ballmer managed the football team, joined multiple clubs, wrote for campus papers, and even lived just down the hall from Bill Gates. He outscored Gates in the prestigious Putnam Math Competition, graduating magna cum laude in 1977. After college, Ballmer worked as an assistant product manager at Procter & Gamble, sharing an office with future GE CEO Jeff Immelt. He even tried his hand at writing screenplays in Hollywood before enrolling at Stanford Business School, where Mukesh Ambani was one of his classmates. But in 1980, destiny called. Bill Gates hired Ballmer to join Microsoft, and he left Stanford to take the leap. Over the years, Ballmer climbed the ladder, becoming Microsoft's president in 1998 and eventually its CEO in 2000. During his 14 years as CEO, Microsoft tripled sales and doubled profits, but also missed out on major shifts like the smartphone boom led by iPhone and Android. In 2014, Ballmer stepped down as CEO, handing the reins to Satya Nadella. After Microsoft, Ballmer made waves in sports, buying the Los Angeles Clippers and quickly earning respect from players and fans alike. Known for his energy and deep pockets, he brought in superstar talent and funded the Clippers' new arena, the Intuit Dome. From math prodigy to Microsoft CEO and now a billionaire philanthropist and NBA team owner, Steve Ballmer's journey is one of relentless energy, bold decisions, and a passion for winning, whether in business or basketball. In June 1980, Steve Ballmer walked into Microsoft as its 30th employee and the first true business manager Bill Gates had ever hired. His starting package? $50,000 a year plus 10% of the profits he brought in, but no equity. That deal quickly became unsustainable as Microsoft exploded in size. But 1981, when the company incorporated, Ballmer struck a new arrangement, an 8% stake in Microsoft. It would make him a billionaire many times over. Over the next 2 decades, Ballmer wore many hats, leading operations, sales, and product divisions. By 1992, he was executive vice president for sales and support, and in 1998, he became Microsoft's president, effectively the number 2 man after Bill Gates. On January 13, 2000, Ballmer became CEO of Microsoft, just as the company faced one of its toughest challenges, a massive U.S. antitrust lawsuit. Unlike Bill Gates, who might have fought on, Ballmer moved to settle, saying lawsuits only create doubt about a company's integrity. As CEO, Ballmer brought structure and discipline. He demanded business justification before greenlighting projects and recruited Walmart executive Kevin Turner as COO to tighten sales and operations. He pushed Microsoft beyond PCs, investing in data centers, building the Xbox business, expanding enterprise software, and even acquiring Skype. And the numbers were staggering. From 2000 to 2014, Microsoft's revenue jumped from $25 billion to $70 billion, and profits soared over 200%. By sheer profit growth, Ballmer outperformed legendary CEOs like Jack Welch of GE and IBM's Louis Gerstner. But despite financial wins, Ballmer missed the biggest consumer technology waves of the 21st century. Microsoft stumbled in smartphones, tablets, and music players, often entering markets late or killing promising projects to protect its Windows and Office empire. Critics called him out, with hedge fund managers and even Forbes labeling him one of the worst CEOs in tech. He did push Microsoft into hardware with the Surface tablet and made the controversial decision to acquire Nokia's phone division in 2013, a final bold move before announcing his retirement. In August 2013, Ballmer revealed he would step down within 12 months. On February 4, 2014, Satya Nadella officially took over as Microsoft's CEO. Ballmer's legacy remains complicated. Under him, Microsoft became bigger and more profitable than ever, but at the cost of falling behind in some of the most defining technologies of our time. You might be surprised to know that as a child, Steve Ballmer was so shy he would actually hyperventilate before Hebrew school. But at Microsoft, he became famous for the exact opposite, an explosive, high-energy personality that was impossible to ignore. Ballmer's over-the-top style was meant to fire up employees and partners, and it often did. He screamed so much, in fact, that he eventually needed surgery on his vocal cords. His stage appearances became internet gold, spreading as viral videos long before viral videos were even a thing. One of the earliest came in 1986, when he filmed a spoof commercial for Windows 1.0, channeling the energy of the famous Crazy Eddie ads. Later years, he reprised the gag to promote Windows XP alongside Brian Valentine. But his most legendary moments came on stage. At Microsoft's 25th anniversary in 2000, Ballmer sprinted and leapt across the stage, shouting at the top of his lungs, "I love this company!" The crowd went wild, and the internet never forgot. Another classic was at a Windows 2000 developers conference, where Ballmer, drenched in sweat, chanted the word "developers, developers, developers" over and over. It was raw, unfiltered Ballmer, part comedy, part inspiration, and 100% unforgettable. Whether you saw him as a motivator or a meme, Ballmer's energy made him one of the most recognizable personalities in the tech world, and his public image still lives on in countless viral clips. Steve Ballmer wasn't just Bill Gates' right-hand man at Microsoft, he was his best man at Gates' wedding. Their relationship was so close, colleagues compared it to a marriage. For years, they operated like a mind meld, debating fiercely in meetings, sometimes so combative that outsiders thought they were fighting, but inside Microsoft, this was just how ideas were tested. In 2000, when Ballmer took over as CEO, tension began to rise. The Wall Street Journal later reported that one shouting match ended with Gates storming out of a meeting, leaving Ballmer visibly remorseful. Ballmer once said, "Use him, yes. Need him, no." Their brotherly bond eventually frayed, and by 2014, after Ballmer's resignation, reports claimed the two men barely spoke to each other. Ballmer himself admitted in 2016 that they had simply drifted apart. Ballmer originally planned to stay CEO until the late 2010s, but by 2013, after costly failures like the Surface missteps and the Nokia acquisition, he announced his retirement. The Microsoft stock price jumped on the news. Looking back, Ballmer admitted one of his biggest regrets was not focusing on mobile early enough. He once famously laughed off the iPhone, saying it would never sell at $600, only to later admit Apple had pulled off a business model innovation by bundling costs into monthly carrier bills. In September 2013, Ballmer hosted his final all-hands meeting, an emotional farewell filled with tears and applause. He officially stepped down from Microsoft's board in 2014. Yet, even in retirement, his Microsoft stock continued to make him billions. In 2023 alone, analysts estimated Ballmer collected $1 billion in dividends. Ballmer's rivalry with Apple was legendary. In 2007, he boldly claimed there was no chance the iPhone would ever win market share. In 2009, he mocked Apple's pricing, calling it ridiculous to spend $500 extra for just a logo. He even banned his team and reportedly his family from using Apple devices. But years later, Ballmer softened his stance, admitting his mistake wasn't the product itself. It was underestimating Apple's business model. Steve Ballmer's time at Microsoft was filled with triumphs, regrets, and fiery clashes, especially with Bill Gates. But whether as Gates' closest ally or his fiercest opponent, Ballmer helped shape the destiny of Microsoft and left behind one of the most unforgettable legacies in tech. How did one man go from shouting developers, developers on stage to secretly saving $500 million in taxes and owning the Los Angeles Clippers in a record-breaking $2 billion deal? This is the insane story of Steve Ballmer. Steve Ballmer wasn't always loud. As a child, he was so shy he would actually hyperventilate before Hebrew school. But at Microsoft, he became famous for his explosive energy, screaming, sweating, and jumping across stages. His over-the-top appearances went viral long before TikTok even existed. One clip shows him chanting developers, developers, developers until he nearly lost his voice. Another, Ballmer sprinting on stage, shouting, "I love this company." This wasn't just theater. It was Ballmer's way of motivating employees, even if it meant having surgery on his vocal cords later. But Ballmer's fire didn't stop on stage. In 2001, he called Linux a cancer and even flew to Munich during a ski trip to beg the mayor not to switch away from Microsoft. Munich did it anyway. He was just as aggressive with Google. When a top Microsoft engineer left for Google, Ballmer allegedly picked up a chair, threw it across the room, and screamed, "I'm going to kill Google! I've buried competitors before, I'll do it again!" Years later, Ballmer softened his stance on open source, but the image of the chair-throwing CEO stuck. Then came basketball. Ballmer tried, and failed, to save the Seattle Supersonics. He even attempted to buy the Sacramento Kings. But in 2014, after the Donald Sterling scandal, he finally got his prize, the Los Angeles Clippers. The price? A jaw-dropping $2 billion, the second highest in sports history at the time. And he didn't stop there. In 2020, he bought the Forum in Inglewood to pave the way for the Clippers' new home, the Intuit Dome. Fans loved his passion. In 2020, The Athletic named him the best owner in basketball. But passion can come at a cost. In 2025, reports surfaced that Ballmer allegedly used a financial company called Aspiration to sneak Kawhi Leonard an extra $48 million, including stock, outside the NBA salary cap. The league is now investigating. How rich is Steve Ballmer? In March 2025, his fortune hit $136 billion, putting him in the top 12 richest people alive. But here's the twist. ProPublica revealed he legally slashed his federal tax rate to 12%, far lower than the athletes he pays. How? By using his team's paper losses and clever Wall Street maneuvers like tax-advantaged loss harvesting. The result? More than $500 million saved in just 5 years. Despite the ruthless business side, Ballmer has given away huge amounts. $50 million to the University of Oregon, $60 million to Harvard, and in 2022, an incredible $425 million to fund children's mental health through the Ballmer Institute. So who is Steve Ballmer really? A viral meme CEO? A ruthless billionaire who will throw chairs and dodge taxes? Or a generous philanthropist shaping the future of kids' health? Maybe he's all of it.